My name is Alan Steinfeld, and my program is called Newrealities. Each week I go deep into the understanding of how we can start to change the planet, how new ideas can be presented to the world to unfold a greater civilization. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and welcome to YouTube. I've been doing my show, Newrealities, for about 15 years. And what I'm trying to do is get an idea of a bigger picture that's going on in the consciousness movement. So I've interviewed people, healers and psychics and channels and wisdom teachers from all traditions. But in this YouTube series, I really want to focus on the masters of those specific areas. And so I have Paul Selig here today, who I think he's a master channel. And channeling for me, it was my introduction into the whole thing. I had a teacher who was a bleach blonde housewife by day, but this enlightened warrior from Atlantis at night. So, and in that, when I first met this channel, I had an experience of being more than my body. It's like my reality shifted, and in that moment, I awoke to who I really was, which was something beyond the physical realm. So I'm partial to channeling, and I've researched channeling, and channeling goes back to ancient times. The prophets of the Old Testament were channels, the Oracle of Delphi were channels, and they were all channeling the divine wisdom. I think even the first theatrical productions, I know you were a teacher of theater, but I think even the earliest theater were people accessing the divine information in front of an audience. So with that, I wanted to really establish for Newrealities this foundation for channeling, and that's why I've asked Paul Selig to be here, because I find his teaching some of the highest on the planet. And for me, it's not just about the mystery of channeling and this non-local consciousness that comes through our vehicle of receptivity, but that's one thing, the channel, but also what the channel I saw said to me, who's coming through that? Who are you? Who's coming through that body? Where's that consciousness coming from? So in today's show, I'd want to access these higher realms and talk about where we're going collectively. So thanks for being here. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Of course, you're one of my favorites. We did an interview about 5 years ago. You were just starting to become public. Do you want to talk about just your progression a little bit from when you first started to hear voices and then where you started to go public and now where you are today?
Sure. I'm a college teacher. I've done that for many years. And I studied a form of healing in my early 30s. It was the height of the AIDS epidemic in New York. It was a very messy time. And I had just sort of gone from this place of atheism into a place of believing that perhaps there was something much more. I'd had an experience of energy that was fairly distinct, that left me seeing lights around people. So I studied healing as a way to get context for that. And then when I was working as a healer, sort of quietly, when I wasn't teaching college or writing plays, which was my work then, I was developing. So when I had my hands on people, I found that I began to hear things for them, which was the beginning of clairaudience. And then I did a group in my apartment for many years where I was, again, just sitting and being in the energy. But the language itself for me was always sort of secondary. I didn't really care about the words. I cared about the energy that would accompany the words, because the energy itself was extremely palpable. And I was raised an atheist. So I needed to either, feel it, see it, hear it. I needed to have something experiential. And I could feel that energy. And that was the beginning of my channel groups. But I kept it very, very under the radar intentionally until my guides dictated their first book through me, which took about 2 weeks. It was called I Am the Word, which was the unedited transcript of I guess 2.5 weeks of sittings. And then I became public, and that's when we met, right after the first book came out.
And I helped you
You
coming
did.
to New York.
You really did, and I was horrified at every step of the way. You know, I've had to do this sort of kicking and screaming.
I know you have, and are you used to it now?
You know, I'm used to it now. I'm still not always comprehending it, you know,
But
on
that's
many
not,
levels.
it's not your job to comprehend,
No,
right?
it's not. It's my job to show up and to be present and to allow what works through me to work through me or with me. And I progress as well, so I'm benefiting from this in many ways.
Paul used to say, if I don't hear anything, I'll buy everyone pizza, you know, when we have a room full of people. So, but now I think you've sort of relaxed into it and trust these beings.
I do. I mean, they've delivered now 4 entire books through me that don't require any editing. I sit in the chair, I close my eyes, I put the recorder on, and I talk, you know, until they say that's the end for the day. And then the things get typed up, and then, you know, thankfully Torture Penguin continues to publish the manuscript. So they haven't let me down yet. And I show up a lot. You know, my job has really been to show up and to be willing to show up. But I'm on this adventure too. You know, I don't say that I'm the expert here. And I'm very careful to say that I'm not. I'm the guy that sits in the chair, and as a result of continuing to do this, my own abilities, my own empathic abilities, my own clairaudience has accelerated. I'm able to help people through these things.
And you do help people. The thing that I'm interested in is the relationship you have with these guides. From your level, I'll talk to them about their level. You know, there's a vast unknown multiverse out there. How do you know who you're getting?
For me, it's a familiarity to the energy and to the language and to the cadence and how it comes. You know, some clairaudience, I understand they're hearing a voice on the other side of the room and they're going, what the hell is that? My experience is highly telepathic. When I'm working as a psychic, I'm tuning into you and I'm actually hearing you. Or if you want to know about your girlfriend, I tune into your girlfriend, I start to resemble her, and then I hear her. That's telepathic. The difference is I'm tuning into others.
You as a personality.
Me as a personality. The difference is when I'm channeling, the guides are tuning into me. So it's a feeling of, it's essentially I'm the radio and I'm familiar with the broadcast. I'm familiar with the texture and the sound and the word choices.
You know, a lot of channels, they disappear. They're not present. Some people say it's as if they die, but you're still present. You're in the back seat, aren't you?
I'm in the back seat of the car.
Right.
Usually saying, where the hell you think you're driving me? Because I don't know what you're talking about. And I often do interrupt.
That's good, you know.
It's good and it's not good. On a level, the level that it's good is it allows me to inquire into the teachings as they're coming.
Right.
Because if something comes through me and I go, what the hell is this? And I'm alarmed by it, in order for me to be able to continue, they'll probably have to address my alarm. Like, you know, there's a place in the new book where early in the book they say nothing is real, and I went, okay, they unpacked that. And then later they said everything is real, and I hit the ceiling because I thought that they were contradicting themselves, and in fact they weren't. They were bringing through a gorgeous teaching that I happened to get in the way of, and they had to sort of talk me down from the roof for about 4 minutes of the new book because I thought, okay, they're not making any sense. So the good news is I get to inquire. The bad news is, for me, is that I get to inquire. Because in a way, I get in the way, but you see, I don't get in a way that stops the teaching. And what I've been told by people who are familiar with the work or read the books is that my questioning is a help to them because it allows them to sort of have a sense of experience. You know, I mean, I'm a student in the class.
I know, you also said you're not their best student either.
I'm not their best student. No, I'm not. Because I think in some ways, maybe because it's coming through me, which is what makes it challenging. You know?
Yeah. You know, some of the funniest moments is when you're arguing with these guides in your head, like they're saying he's getting in the way again, and you're sort of like having this internal like debate. I mean, they're very humorous.
Well, yeah. I mean, not to me necessarily while it's happening, but because it's always happening in front of people. You know, I mean, that's the challenge. You see, I can't access information. I can be doing the dishes and talk to the guides, but if I don't like what I'm hearing, I'm going to focus on the dishes.
Okay.
When I'm in conversation with you, or when I'm doing a workshop or dictating a book, there's an implicit contract that I'm going to show up and not stop. And part of that is, if there's something that's impeding me from going forward, it's going to have to be addressed by them as well. And that's how we work together. The thing that I decided, or we decided, at the very beginning of the first book was that nothing could be changed. So if I didn't like an idea, I couldn't make it pretty. I couldn't alter the language. The way it comes out of my mouth is the way it's published, and that's the deal. So.
No, so before we get to the guides, because I want people to have an experience of that, do you feel like the relationship has gotten deeper? Are you trusting them more?
I really am. I really am.
Okay.
And I trust, but like any relationship,
Yeah.
like when you're dating, you don't want to piss them off. When you're married, you don't care. And at this point, we're in this together, you know?
So you're married now.
We're pretty married now. But, you know, and also I'm more aware at times when I'm Paul, how I become more them. You know, I'm aware of the gifts of the relationship, not just as the translator, but how at times, and this is mostly when I'm working with other people, you know, not when I'm walking down the street myself, although hopefully it'll get there too. I really do embody more what they're teaching. But yeah, it is a relationship, and it's a strange relationship. And
this goes beyond same-sex marriage, doesn't it?
you know, yeah, it does. It has to. But I know what you're saying. It's not. It's a very, very odd experience. You see, anybody that's been a writer, I was a playwright, you know, the idea of hearing voices and rendering character was something that I understood. What I didn't realize was that when I was tuning into people, I was really tuning into people.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until I was doing a reading for somebody, and she gave me her father's name, and then she gasped, and I opened my eyes, and I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "You look just like him." And I realized that I was somatizing. It's a kind of physical mediumship. So the process of sort of engaging with this, you know, it's a very interesting one, and it requires trust. I think it requires trust from me, and I hope from them too, but I'll continue to show up.
Well, you continue to show up, and they'll continue to show up. So should we see who's showing up?
I guess so.
No, because I have a lot of questions on their side, because what they've done, it's sort of magical. They've brought through a really high quality teaching that have helped a lot of people. People have had awakenings. They've had kundalini. They've totally changed who they were because they've read your books or heard your channelings. And that's a beautiful gift you've given people.
I haven't given them. I've been present for them. I've taken the time to type. I've had to go and work through my own resistance to this.
Right.
I have to deal with the teachings myself. There's no way I can really avoid them. So even when I'm not living them as fully as I'd like, they're very present in my life. But you mentioned the effect that the book has on people, and I should mention this.
Yeah.
The books, you see, my guides work with energy. It's not just information. So when I do workshops, there's a very palpable energy that fills the room that people can actually feel. And I can only be so many places with them. The books can be wherever the books happen to be. And the guides said in the first book and in all of the subsequent books, the books are energetic attunements that work directly on the reader. So people are reading these books, and they say there's two books. There's the words in the page, which will give you an intellectual context for what you're experiencing, and there is the real book, which is, they say, encoded in a language. So people are reading the book, and if you go to Amazon and you read the reviews, people are saying, I'm reading the book and my body's vibrating, I'm reading the book and I'm seeing auras. You know, my favorites, I'm reading the book and my husband is changing. I like that one. But that's what you're talking about. So there's a lot of phenomena attached to the books, which I'm grateful for.
You know, it's true, because when I first got the first book, I Am the Word, I flipped through it a little bit. I didn't get anything, and then I sat down and read it from the first page, and it's like, wow, I'm feeling this vibration coming, but it wasn't happening just flipping through it.
No.
I sat down and read it from the first page to the last, and then there was the change.
Yeah.
I want to ask them how they do that.
Choice, choice, choice. Well, they're saying choice, choice, choice. Yes, yes, yes. And I just said, do I have to say this now? And they're saying yes, yes, yes. So here's the scoop. When I channel, I whisper the words as they come and repeat them. So there's a repetition that's involved. It takes a little bit for people sometimes to get used to it. It's not extraordinarily graceful, but that seems to be how I work with. Sometimes when the energy is very, very high, it comes through direct, and sometimes, and well, fairly frequently now with a bit of an accent, but that's how I channel. So if I do go into channel, and you're new or you haven't seen me before, this might be helpful information.
Right.
So you go, what's this man doing? Saying everything twice and turn it off.
Because you hear it Or
the dictation is the whisper. The whisper is the transmission itself, and then it's almost like it fills me twice.
Right.
And now the whisper isn't loud enough to be heard in most cases. I'm mic'd now, so it may be in this space. But the whisper's the transmission, the repetition is for the student. And as that's going, they're getting ready to deliver the next phrase. So what I'm really doing, if you can imagine somebody sitting there reading ticker tape and really, really, really fast, when I'm channeling, I don't know what the next phrase is going to be. I just know what I'm getting in that moment. And I'm just trying to keep up with it.
I mean, I know I asked you on the first show, is it possible to get out of the way completely and just have them mute? But when you're ready,
Oh, you know, it's not even that, I think.
Oh.
And I think that there's a supposition sometimes. Somebody actually wrote me an email the other day saying, you really have to stop repeating this. And she said, and your guides really should stop using the word Christ because that's limiting your readership. And I thought, you know, since when are we packaging channeling to be convenient to people? This is crazy as it is. It's just nuts. If I were to choose the language for this, I wouldn't be channeling. And if I could control and make it pretty, I possibly wouldn't be a real channel. Occasionally I do watch people they look like they're shopping at Bloomingdale's and channeling at the same time. And I go, they're either really, really far along and comfortable, or they're just talking. For me, and maybe this is just the way that my central nervous system gets worked with, it's very, very physical. It's a physical phenomena. I'm on my feet. When I'm on my feet, I don't walk like I normally walk. My arms are waving in the air. I talk in this funny accent. And if I were more present, I'd know to be mortified. But I'm not, because thank goodness I'm in the back seat of the car, letting everything progress in its own way.
Great. I'm really excited now to talk to our guides.
And they're saying, thank you for that. Now, what do you want to know? And they're saying, now, what do you want to know? And be kind. And they're saying, and be kind. The man before you is having a hard day. The man before you is having a hard day.
No.
So how are we going to do
I want to talk to you there about your progression. When I first met Paul in the channel, it seemed like it was the beginning, and now there's a whole curriculum. Talk about...
There's more than a curriculum, there's a way of being. There's a way of being and knowing the selves, and knowing the selves outside of your prior agreements, outside of your prior agreements. And this is the issue here. And this is the issue here. Each one in this room has assumed who they are, has assumed who they are. They have an identity, and they have an identity that they have claimed, and they seek to have reinforced, and they seek to have reinforced by everyone around them, as you sit before us, as you sit before us. We see you as you are. We see you as you are, not as you think you are, not as you think you are, not as you wish to be, not as you wish to be, but as who you are, but as who you are. Now the divine as you. Now the divine as you. In each one of you you see. In each one of you see is available to be known. Is available to be known. And in that availability, and in that availability lies the teaching, the agreement you make. The agreement you make on an individual level to access the divine self, to access the divine self as who you truly are, as who you truly are, calls into being the requirements of the teaching you need, the requirements of the teaching you need. And this is not individual teaching. And this is not an individual teaching. The requirements of the individual are met with the grand teaching, We use the word grand, and we use the word grand with some intention. Our issuance for you each bypasses the small self, bypasses the small self that would seek to replicate itself, through who he is known himself as, through who he has known himself as, and that is the who. And that is the who is frightened of the world, or angry at the one beside you, or angry at the one beside you, or has been lost, to himself in an agreement to be lost, in an agreement to be lost. I guess, do you understand?
I understand. I think this audience is really an advanced audience. I think they know they're not their personality self. So let's take it to another level.
You you think you're your personality self. You walk around the block. Don't I look lovely? Don't I look lovely? Will I get my needs met? Will I get my needs met? Who's that? Who is that but the personality? But the personality of the divine self. Now the divine self may utilize the personality, may call forth through the personality, may call forth through the personality, but he knows who he is, and he knows he is not, and he knows he is not the issues of the small self, through the small frame. Through the small frame, we will complete the sentence, please. We will complete the sentence, please. Then you may ask again. The requirement for the teaching you asked. The requirement for the teaching you asked, and what is the agenda? And what is the agenda? The agenda is the incarnation, the embodiment of the divine self, through humankind, not just not just the ones before us here, but for each man, who may know himself in his true worth, her true worth, yes, mankind has been denied sovereignty, by agreements made to remain small, and the small self exists in limitation. Do you understand this? Yes. Do you understand this? Yes. We move you beyond limitation, but you adhere to limitation. Don't I look nice today? That is limitation. The divine as you, who is remarkable, ever beautiful, and always wise, knows that for a fact, does not seek affirmation for his goods in the world, his actions in the world, he has no need. Our discipline is to offer you the elevation of consciousness, that is required in attunement, for your embodiment to progress. Thank you for the question.
I think there is something different going on now, where the true embodiment of the divine, or the Christ self, is allowed in ways that hasn't been possible before. Is that true?
They're saying accurate, very accurate, and very accurate, and it will continue, in the face of your resistance. Now, when we use the term Christ, we must mean what it says. We must mean what it says, and the Christ as we teach it. And the Christ as we teach it, the aspect creator, is the aspect of the creator, maybe known as you, that may be known as you, the divine self may be known as you, that may be known in manifestation, all mankind, in all mankind. Now the times you exist in are vastly changing, the requirements for change, and the requirements for change are being brought to you, in ways you may attend to, and the requirements for change now, are to align to your own true selves, and not to create in fear, You all create in fear. You are instructed in fear. You are taught to fear the one beside you. You are taught to fear the one beside you, and those people over there, and all the governments of the world, and you are cowards, you see. And you are cowards, you see, when you are fearful, when you are a coward. And when you are a coward, you are not acting in your divine worth. You are not acting in your divine worth, which is your true inheritance. The truth of who you are is courage. Is being, is an awareness, is in awareness of the vastness of the divine as you, of the divine as you. These are the times you choose to stand, and these are the times you choose to stand. And now Paul is in the background getting worried. You call them all cowards. You call them all cowards. Time to go home. There goes my life. There goes my life. We like the illustration. We like the illustration because we are telling you what you are not. Because we are telling you what you are not. You are not cowards. You are not cowards. You believe yourselves to be. You believe yourselves to be as you go into an agreement, with a world that says be afraid, that says be afraid. And once you are cowards, you will seek protection. You will give away your authority. You will blame others, and you will blame others for what occurs. When we teach you, we know who you are. We know who you are beyond your creations of the small self. We see you on your mastery. We see you in your mastery, and we lift you there. As you say yes to it. Thank you for the very good question.
Yes, we're here to act in the truth of who we are and stand in the courage of that. How do we remind ourselves to do that when we forget, when we get influenced by others?
You must claim the teachings. You must know who you are. You must know who you are. I am not the one. I am not the one with the big bills to pay, with the failing marriage, I am the divine being. I am the divine being who knows who he is, and may live in expression of that. The misidentification of your lives, through your material world is the challenge you face. You think it's all very real. It's not very real. It's not very real. It's a creation. That you are attending to, that you are all attending to and in agreement about. As you begin to claim your identity, I know who I am. I know who I am as a divine being. I know what I am. I know what I am in this incarnation. I know how I serve. As I am most fully expressed, as my divine self. You call into agreement. You call into an agreement through vibration. That which you can be in accord with, and this challenges you first and foremost, not to decide through the small self, and the small frame she sees through, but to claim the divine self, as who you are, and then call into being, what he aligns to, which is vastly greater. When you are frightened, you see. You are the small self. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? The divine self as the truth of who you are. As the truth of who you are is not afraid because he cannot align to fear, He knows who he is. We can only be who he can only be. Everything else is illusion. Do you understand? Yes.
I understand, because often in these groups we often say, everyone, I know who I am, which is the embodiment of the divine in form. So would you suggest people say that so they know that?
If you wish,
please.
You may say these words and you may repeat them after us. I know who I am. I know who I am.
I know who I am.
I know what I am.
I know what I am.
I know how I serve.
I know how I serve.
When you claim these words, you call yourself into present time. You call yourself into present time, which is the only time you may know anything. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? You didn't know yesterday. You didn't know yesterday, and you're not going to know tomorrow. And you're not going to know tomorrow. You may know now. You may know now, in this very moment. In this very moment, as you truly are. As you truly are. Period, 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 period.
So I think we're doing pretty good as a civilization. Many more people are awakening to this sense of the divine self. Yes, they still have some frames to expand. But what do you see as the big picture here? Where are we going?
It's up to you. It's up to you. You must understand this. You must understand this. We hold a vision for you, yes. We hold a vision for you, yes. We see your remarkable selves. We see you in your remarkable selves, in the truth of who you are, in the truth of who you are. We know what you can be. We know what you can be when you align to your worth, when you align to your worth, and how that will best be demonstrated, and how that will best be demonstrated in manifestation. In manifestation, but you have choices to make. But you have choices to make, Paul is asking. Paul is asking, is it guaranteed? Is it guaranteed we reach this level of alignment? We reach this level of alignment. Yes, in fact, it is. Yes, in fact, it is. However, how you move through the resistance to it, how you move through the resistance to it is in many ways your choice, is in many ways your choice. What is, do you understand this? If somebody asks you, leave all your possessions behind, leave all your possessions behind and come follow me, and come follow me, you would walk away, and wisely so. You would walk away, and wisely so. Who is he to say these things to me? Who is he to say these things to me? I just bought a new television. I intend to enjoy it for a while. I intend to enjoy it for a while, but the truth of the matter is, at this level of agreement, you are doing this anyway. You are doing this anyway. You are releasing the need. You are releasing the need to be the small self, the ruler of the small kingdom, the ruler of the small kingdom, and that's what the small self is, and that is what the small self is. The small self rules a small kingdom, rules a small kingdom, the divine self knows where he exists. It is not a plane, and it is another plane of availability to consciousness, the kingdom you see as we teach it, the true kingdom is the awareness of the divine, is the awareness of the divine in all manifestation, Do you understand this?
Yeah.
Do you understand this? That can be known now. But if you wish it, you have to let go. You have to let go of who the hell you think you are. Because who you think you are is a construct. Who you truly are is a joyous divine creation. Seeking to be expressed in all aspects of a life. Period.
Yes, I get glimpses of that, and then I feel that expansion. And, I think that's what's going on now, and we're moving collectively to that place. But why is it happening now? Is there a reason that a lot of people are awakening?
You have no choice. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Mankind has the means. Mankind has the means to destroy itself. You stand at a juncture. Of a reckoning, and what a reckoning is. And what a reckoning is a facing of one's own creations. The belief in your separateness. The belief in your separateness from the Creator. Has expressed itself definitely in your belief. In your belief that you are separate, from the ones beside you, and that is the cause of all war. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? If you think you are separate from the one beside you, if you think you are separate from the one beside you, if what he says doesn't matter, if what he says doesn't matter, what he believes should be ignored, you will assess him, you will judge him, and you will decide what he should be, as we have taught, as we have taught. You cannot be the light. You cannot be the light and hold another in darkness and hold another in darkness. It cannot be so. It cannot be so. These are the times you stand in. These are the times you stand in. As one man wakes up, he awakens 1,000 more. He awakens 1,000 more by his very presence. By his very presence, his expression, his field on this plane, That is what does the work. That is what does the work. Thank you for the good question. Thank you for the good
question. A few more, and then we'll take some from the audience. But I'm curious how you work. Have you been watching Paul? And that's one question. And then by reading the books, people are getting a vibration. How do you do that? How do you implant a...
It's intoned in the language, it's encoding in the field of the book. In the field of the book, the vibration we operate through, the vibration that we operate through when we attend to Paul, can be transmitted, the attunement of it, and the attunement of it in the texts. In the text serves as a surrogate for the man before you, He will not be here one day. He will be living elsewhere. Attending to something else. But the text will be here. In their impact. And in their gifts. Now, how do we work with Paul? With great patience. And deep love. Because we understand the dilemma. That is born in a manifestation. Of realizing that who one is, in fact, is not what he wished, would have chosen, claimed, or decided upon the man you see before you in some ways. And the man you see before you in some ways, while this was agreed upon prior to incarnation, was about to leave the life he knew when this came to pass, In many ways, Spirit will use a crisis. As an open doorway. And we took the opportunity, to say, here we are, let's get back to work. Let's get back to work, and underline the word back. Because the relationship we hold goes back a very long time. Now the acquiescence to the teachings that we give are in agreement to all of you only at the level that you can hold. We can call you a peach. But you will not be a peach. We can call you divine. And you will always be divine. Because that is the truth of who you are, whether or not you believe it or know it. That's who you all are. But the agreement to that, as who you are, as you are expressed in the lives you through. As you are expressed in the lives you exist through, in the lives you exist through, is a process of acclamation. This is true for all of you, and this is true for all of you. If you were to wake up in fullness tonight, who you truly are, you wouldn't know what the hell to do. You have to understand. That you must hold the vibration, to go into accord with it, This is the reason many of you have a flash of expression. You say, where did it go? And then you say, where did it go? I saw everybody is beautiful. Just for a moment. You haven't held it yet. And you will.
And how do we do, what's a hint, what's a suggestion of holding that vibration?
Claiming the truth of who you are in the face of all challenge, all things that would confirm, all things that would confirm that you are not divine, that you are not divine, are in fact the opportunities, are in fact the opportunities you require to claim it. You require to claim it. So many of you decide that this is a pretty journey. Decide that this is a pretty journey. We'll all be very happy and spiritual. We will all be very happy and spiritual. You will go home and kick the dog, and then you will go home and kick the dog, or do whatever you did, or do whatever you did the day prior. The day prior. This is not a convenient teaching. This is not a convenient teaching. It is not convenient. It is not convenient to the lives you've created, to the lives you've created in an effort to prove yourself as worthy, by somebody else's criteria, It's not convenient. And it is not in agreement to the personality self who wishes to rule. The gift of kingdom, the gift of the kingdom, the true gift. The true gift is the awareness of the divine, is the awareness of the divine as who you are, and as who everybody else is, and as who everybody else is. And we say everybody, and we say everybody, regardless of what you think of them, regardless of what you think of them. They are just as likely. They are just as likely to be the truth, incarnate as you are. But you must understand that the vibration you hold, is what you are demonstrating through, period.
So even if someone doesn't like me, I'm still the divine, right? No, I'm kidding.
You are no matter what, and they are too, and the fact of the matter is, when you are challenged by that, and you have the opportunity, to claim them in their divinity, you are truly progressing. Progressing. That's how you learn. That's how you learn.
Good one. So even if, someone's nasty or angry, have an argument, that's the work. That's the personal work to do in those moments. Yes. Let me also ask you about the word. You have the book, I Am the Word, that you've written or channeled through. The word itself, word, you've energized that with a certain vibration. Talk about that, and talk about witnessing the other person in the word.
The claim of the word is the claim of the divine truth, is the claim of the divine truth within the true self, or the one before you, or in all you see before you, The word we say is the action of the creator, is the action of the creator as manifested by you, It is who you are. It is who you are, but it is the principle of the action. But it is the principle of the action of the divine, the creative force, if you like, the attunement to the word. The attunement to the word which we offer you in the first text, is as follows. You may repeat this after us if you wish. If you wish. I am word through my body. I am word through my body.
I am word through my body.
Word, I am word.
Word, I am word.
I am word through my vibration.
I am word through my vibration.
Word, I am word.
Word, I am word.
I am word through my knowing of myself.
I am word through my knowing of myself.
As word.
Word,
I am word.
Word, I am word.
Now, when you claim these words, you are claiming truth. You are claiming truth when you claim I am word through my body. When you claim I am word through my body, you are setting the intention. You are setting the intention of the body you stand in, that the body you stand in, the physical form you hold, is an agreement aligned with word, is an agreement and aligned with the word which is creation, which is the energy of the created in action. You claim I am with vibration. When you claim I am word through my vibration, you set the intention, the organic field, that the auric field that you hold is an agreement alignment, is an agreement and aligned with the vibration word, with the vibration of the word, the energy of the creator in action, the energy of the creator in action. I am word through my knowing self as word. I am word through my knowing of myself as word claims you in your true identity, claims you in your true identity. Period.
Word is the creator in action. When you say that word, you're saying, I am the creator in action.
It is the creative principle operating as and through you, operating as and through you. Your personality is not the word. Your personality is not the word. That is a misteaching. And that is a misteaching. Ye are all gods, it's been said. Ye are all gods has been said, and that is the truth in one way. And that is the truth in one way, because the aspect of God may be known as you, that may be known as you, may be expressed through you, may be expressed through you and by you, but on a personality level. But on a personality level, you are not. You are not. When you claim this, and when you claim this, you are claiming as the divine self. You are claiming as the divine self. What's the teaching? Do you understand the teaching? Say it differently, please. We will say this. We will say this. The divine as you. The divine as you is the expression, not you as the divine, not you as the divine. The small self is not dominated. The small self is not dominated. The divine self assumes. The divine self assumes. Period.
Is that something you made up or created, you as these entities, about the word?
Absolutely not. It has been here forever. It has been here forever. It's the truth of who everybody is. It is the truth of who everybody is. You can call it the logos. You can call it the logos. You can call it the Christ principle. You can call it the Christ principle. You can call it God. You can call it God in action, but it is here. But it is here. It is here as you. It is here as you begin to know it, as you begin to know it, and not as you would like to be, perhaps, and not as you would like to be, perhaps, because that is still personality, because that is still the personality, assuming who she'd be, assuming who she should be. I will be divine today. I will be divine today, says the happy personality, That is not this teaching. That is not this teaching. The divine operates as you. The divine operates as you are expressed. As you are expressed, and in all areas of your life, not just the ones you want to, period.
So when we have this divine self, is the personality still present on some level?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You still need to know whose shoes to put on in the morning. You still need to know whose shoes to put on in the morning to be taught. And you can be taught through aspects of personality, but it's not how you identify anymore. But it is not how you identify anymore. You see the personality self is an inherited structure. Now, we're not talking about your character. Now, we are not talking about your character, which lasts beyond a lifetime, But the personality, I look good in blue. I prefer my meat rare. And I always like to live in such a place. And I always like to live in such and such a place. Our personality constructs, they are not who you are. They are not the truth of who you are. You've inherited these things. You've been instructed in them. You've been instructed in them, and you've agreed to many teachings. And you've agreed to many teachings about what it means to be beautiful, about what it means to be beautiful or successful what you should aspire to, and what you should aspire to. And you bought it lock, stock, and barrel, and there you go. And there you go. That aspect of the self that seeks to be improved, is the small self, The divine self knows. The divine self knows who he is, and calls into manifestation, what he requires to grow through, period.
Okay, one more question, and then we'll talk to the audience. Once we get there, being the embodiment of this divine self, whenever that will be, I know it will probably take some time. What will the planet look like when everyone is the manifestation of that divine awareness? How do you see us then?
The fact of the matter is, it has already happened. It has already happened in a higher dimension. You haven't aligned to it yet. And that is the progress we are seeing now. Now, the divine as you. The divine as you is implicit in every manifested being. You cannot be here. You cannot be here incarnated and not be an aspect of God, It's simply not possible. possible, so it already exists. So it already exists, but be awakening to the truth of who you are. But be awakening to the truth of who you are happens in pockets, and then very quickly, as mankind begins to remember, who the hell he's always been, outside of the artifice, and the creations of the small self, period.
But our whole culture changes, and everything is different at that point that we live at that place.
Everything can be as it moves into agreement, with truth. Yes, it can be, but you have choice. You have free will, and you will not be dragged by your hair, to the altar. And the altar, we say, is where you release who you think you are, to reclaim your own truth. You have been gifted with choice. How does the world look, you may ask? It looks like the world you know now. It looks like the world you know now, without fear, without people deciding in fear, And the reason you have war, the reason you have poverty, the reason you have poverty, the reason there is injustice, is all born in fear, So think about it, and you will see how the world may change,
Oh, I think it's a great possibility. So don't go anywhere. I'm just going to take some questions. Okay, does anybody here? If anyone has a question, come, open up. Are you having fun?
Yes,
Okay.
very much so.
Is this new for you?
Well, I have attended 2 workshops and been very impressed.
Hello.
So I have to say thank you.
Thank you.
For bringing this to us. I have a question about twin flame relationships. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept.
Yes and no, but in many ways, the concept itself is born in personality, and a desire for union, It is also born in personality, that is also born in personality in many ways. When you have a construct, that has been shared, you make it very real, then you inquire about it, They're saying be as you are. This is the important thing to understand. You may get caught up in the glamour of experience, and you may get attached. And you may get attached to the labels people use, to describe phenomena, but the reality is what you are speaking to. What you are speaking to is an awareness of your own divinity, and consequently the divine in what you see, that is your blessing. Now, when you operate at that level, you call into manifestation. You call into manifestation what you require. When we claim the words, I know how I serve, and that is used by you. It does not mean you need to go hunting for service. You need to go hunting for service. It means you are claiming your alignment, what you're required to serve through, and what you require to serve through will be called into being, because that becomes your expression. Do you all understand this? Yes. Do you all understand this? Yes. You don't have to go seeking. Because it's there for you to know. Yes, if you wish. They just said, I just asked, this is Paul. I just asked if I could tune into you, because that's how I do progress. Can I have your name? Is that okay?
Aliona.
Let me just see if I can get you. Well, you seem okay. You hold yourself well. I'm okay. The funny thing is, when I tune into you, you're still surveying everything. This is how you come through, like you're checking it all out. It's a little cocky right now, which isn't bad. Like, I got it. And I think that'll settle in, because it's not about I got it. You know what I mean? It's what they said at the beginning. It's about how we be. How we are, how we be at this level of expression is the demonstration of the teaching.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Anybody else? Question? Judith, did you have a question?
No, you actually
Here, go, just come in the light. Stand in the
I
light.
was in the light.
No, you're in the light now.
That's
Judith,
the whole idea.
Judith Kahn, an old friend of mine.
Do you know why the guides chose you? Have you asked, or have they made that clear?
Choice. Well, they're saying choice, which was something they say often, and they're pointing to me. So I guess on a level I chose it, yes, and they're saying and yes, and beyond that, you decide between them. This is what I've gotten from this, and they actually, for the first time, start to address my relationship to them in the newest book. In a chapter where I was like, this is just too nuts, and they said, okay, they switched the subject, and they started talking to me directly about some of this stuff. But they say that this was something that I agreed to prior to incarnation. That's
it seemed
really
like there was a prior contract.
That's how they. I mean, contract's not a word that they use. They use agreements. Contract isn't a word. They're not big on contracts, but they said that it was agreed to, and they say, I'm sort of operating as an aspect of them, and that's part of the connection. So I volunteered, in other words, for some reason to do this work.
Who are they?
They call themselves teachers. I call them the guides. The only reason they're called the guides is because my ex used to say, ask the guides this, ask the guides that, and that's how they got the name. Lately, they've begun claiming a name. I mean, they've been doing it for years, actually, but they do this when they wish to, and not always when asked. And we will do it now, and we will do it now. You may claim Melchizedek if you wish. They're saying you may claim Melchizedek if you wish. That is the name we will use. That is the name we will use in consort with a great light, in consort with a great light and a true teaching, and a true teaching. The Christ as man. The Christ as man has always been this teaching, has always been this teaching. This is not a new teaching. This is not a new teaching. The methodology we offer you to support you in this commission, commission has been transferred to you, at this time for a reason. We are here to see you through it, and we are here to see you through it, period. They're saying period.
Thank you. Nicole. It's Nicole's first time seeing you.
It's been great. I want to go back to fear. So taking it through more of a practical application through the day when something comes up, is it just a matter of loving it and looking at it and saying, like, I love you and you're not real, fear?
Yes and no, if that's the way you want to talk to it. If that's the way you want to talk to it, you may talk to it any way you like. You may talk to it any way you like. You don't have to talk to it at all. You don't have to talk to it at all. You have to realize that when you are facing fear, you are facing a belief. You are facing a belief that seeks to invite you forward, to join it. Loving your fear. Loving your fear may not be very good when you are terrified out of your mind. When you are terrified out of your mind, perhaps what one needs to do is realize their true safety, And the true safety, we say is claimed by you in an awareness of divinity, all you can be frightened of. All you can be frightened of is something in this dimension. Do you understand that? Do you understand this? You think you're your bodies. So you fear demise. You'll all be dead one day. That is how the body works. We're no longer afraid of death. When you are no longer afraid of death, 40% of your fears leave you entirely. The violation of the self by fear. Is a very insidious one. The replication of fear. Is the issue. And as we have told you before, the action of fear. The action of fear is to claim more fear. Do you understand this? Do you understand this, the action of fear? The action of fear is to call more fear to itself, and that is how you live your life then. In agreement to fear. Say thank you, no. Say thank you, no, to the fear you see. Don't engage it. Know that it's a liar. Paul has the belief. Paul has a belief that his fear will protect him, that his fear will protect him. It gives him a reason. It gives him a reason to hold on to fear. To hold on to fear. The fear has not protected him. The fear has not protected him. It's kept him in isolation. And that's a very different thing. Do you understand? Yes. Do you understand? Yes?
I understand. My mind is taking me to the fear of financial prosperity.
Because you're looking to yourself as the source of your income, as the source of your income. When you realize the source of all things, when you realize the source of all things, you become the beneficiary of it. You become the beneficiary of it. Those of you who think that your creations will save you, will be disappointed one day, because they cannot. Here is the truth. Here is the truth. You must know who you are. You must know who you are in your own divine worth. In your own divine worth. When the teaching was said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added, You are being instructed. You are being instructed to realize the divine, as the infinite source, that all things come from, If you believe that your marriage is the source of your love, or your job is the source of your security, you'll be very disappointed. You will be very disappointed when the job is gone, when the marriage is ended, and the marriage is ended. You understand? When you understand the truth of all things, this fear goes away. So let me just ask you what you need at a higher level. I need to forgive myself for not knowing how it's going to work out. This is the answer. You just said it. I need to forgive myself for not knowing how this is going to work out, because I just don't know. And that lets you off the hook. And that lets you off the hook to begin to call things to you again. Do you understand?
So just let go.
Let go of the unforgiveness of the self who has to control it. All you can do is show up. All you can do is show up, is what they're saying, and be present, and realize the divine, in the creation you make, period.
Thank you. All right. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Do you enjoy channeling?
Yeah, I do. They're feisty today.
Feisty?
They get a little indignant sometimes, but I think that's for effect. And it's not out of any malice.
But I do want to ask them one final question. If it's that simple, just giving up our fear, being our divine self.
We would like to say this: to know the self as the master. To know the self as the master is to know the self outside of expectations. Is to know the self outside of expectations, inherited expectations, and fear-based expectations, and fear-based expectations. Know the self as the master. To know the self as the master is to know who you can claim. Is to know who you can claim the true self to be, and what purview that aspect of itself, and what purview that aspect of the self has in this world. The divine as you. The divine as you is here to be sung, and will be sung, and in the song the divine self sings. And the song the divine self sings calls into manifestation the kingdom of heaven. That is the truth of who you are. That is the truth of who you are, and that is what Master knows, and that is what the Master knows. We teach to the Master you see. We teach to the Master you see, because that is the truth of who you are, because that is the truth of who you are, period.
Have you guys been incarnated here and learned this on your own, or?
Yes and no, some and some not. Some and some not, period.
So any final words for our group here as far as uplifting the energy and having us leave with some higher vibration?
Ask them each to stand up if they would. Would they all stand up? Would they all stand up and look at the ones around them? And look at the ones around them. The ones around them have come to be seen. The ones around them have come to be seen, to be witnessed as they are, And there's no one in this room. And there is no one in this room who is unworthy of the divine, There is nobody watching this. There is nobody watching this who could be unworthy of the divine, regardless of what they believe, regardless of what they believe. Would you say this after us, please? I know who I am.
I know who I am.
I know what I am.
I know what I am.
I know how I serve.
I know how I serve.
I am here.
I am here.
I am here.
I am here.
I am here. The claim I am here is the claim of the divine self, is the claim of the divine self teaching and speaking
teaching and speaking, resurrected if you wish, resurrected if you wish, as you, and we will say this to each of you, and we will say this to each of you. You are here, 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 and we thank you each for your presence. Good night. We thank you each for your presence. Good night, period. That's from them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, YouTube. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for watching New Realities. This is Alan Steinfeld. I've been talking to Paul Selig and his guides about expanding to the next level of consciousness, and I hope you've gotten something from this program. If you want to reach me, go to my website, newrealities.com, or you can go to Paul's website, paulselig.com. He has events and personal readings and groups and online courses, which are amazing, and of course his books. I Am the Word, the Book of Love and Creation, and the Book of Knowing and Worth, and the Book of Mastery coming out. Thanks, and this has been fun, and thank you all for being here.